I just finished reading Napolitano's Hello Beautiful, which was Oprah Winfrey's book club 100th book selection. And I want to talk in this video about its exploration of unbreakable bonds. For those of you who read it a while ago, because it's an older book, and for those of you who have not read it, it is Napolitano's look at what it would be like to write Little Women in our modern era, and with a cast of fabulous Italian characters. So the March sisters are the Padavano sisters. They live in Chicago and they are very tight-knit. And Laurie from Little Women, who is the boy who is so charming and beloved and just wants to be part of that family so bad, but also ends up, bringing them apart because two of them fall in love with him, is in this case William, who also actually comes with a little bit more money than our Padavano sisters. And like Laurie in Little Women, grew up in a family that wasn't as warm, as loving as the March sisters' household is, and in this case, as the Padavano sisters are. So in this book, Napolitano carries us through this beautiful, heartfelt, decades-spanning exploration of what it is for somebody, in this case William, to grow up feeling completely unloved by his parents, and what happens when he finds himself embraced by this very, very loving family, and how that transforms all of them. As with Little Women, however, his presence in their lives, and it's not just him, a lot of things happen, create a break that the book spends decades trying to heal. Hello Beautiful explores how unbreakable sisterly bonds can be. We have our four sisters. We have Julia, who is very self-contained, and she's bossy, and she's brilliant, and she tells everybody what to do. She's in charge of everything. She's the one who knows it all. And then we have Sylvie, who is the second oldest, and she is all full of dreams. She wants to be a librarian. Her whole dream in her whole life is to find a real love, like one of those like Anna Karenina like loves, those loves that just are sweeping and that take everything from you but also give meaning to your life. And then we have Cecelia and Emmeline. They're twins. Cecelia is an artist and she paints beautiful murals all over the city, and then Emmeline is a born mother and a caretaker. Because she is a lesbian, she has a beautiful relationship with her partner. Instead of having her own children, she fosters children who are babies of usually addict mothers, and so she just takes care of these kids and then returns them to their mom once they're doing better, and she runs the daycare. When Julia, who is the person who's in charge of everything and has all the sense of how everybody's life is going to turn out, meets William at school, she's like, I will make him into a professor, a writer, a politician. She has all these ideas for him. And because he grew up with parents who did not know how to love him, and he grew up in a very cold household, he is like, okay, yes, finally somebody loves me. And yet his true love is Sylvie, and that's what she wanted with her whole life. She wanted to find somebody to love. And of course they fight it for a long time. But once it becomes clear to Julia that her favorite sister is in love with her soon-to-be ex-husband, their whole lives fall apart. She moves to New York. It's just this whole, and then these bonds that these women had that were so vital to them disappear. But they don't, because you can't. When you're that linked, the bonds cannot go away. So even though they spent 25 years apart, those years with Julia in New York and the others, and William having a very loving life back in Chicago, those bonds mark them by their absence, and they mark them by their presence, even though they're supposed to not be there. So the book really looks at how some loves, and especially, oh my God, with your sisters that look just like you and that you spend all this time with, just will never go away. Hello Beautiful makes an argument that romantic bonds are unbreakable, but only if you've married the right person. So we have a few examples of marriages that probably shouldn't have happened, though, you know, they end up with kids that are very lovable. So look, they should have happened for the children. For the marriage itself, though, maybe not. We have the Padavano matriarch and patriarch, who are Rose and Charlie, and she is a very practical, let's go get things done kind of person, and he is an alcoholic who is so sweet and loving, and he's always quoting Walt Whitman, and he's a dreamer. Neither one of them can give the other one what they need, and it causes a lot of friction between them, even though they stay together. Then we have William and Julia, who come together really because she sees in him just this very tall and smart and pliant man who is kind, and for him, he has never known love. So for him, he's like, oh, and she's amazing, and she loves me, and she's so smart and bright. But they don't come together because they love each other. They don't come together because there's like a true passion there or a clear sense of why they belong together. They come together simply because they were there at the right time. And that love doesn't last either, because of course he falls in love with her sister, who is the person who really gets him. She and him fall in love because she ends up reading this manuscript that he's written about the history of basketball, that is really not a manuscript about the history of basketball. It is, but it's really about his own misgivings about his life. They have all these wonderful footnotes where he's like, who am I and why am I here? He's questioning himself. And as she reads this, she who is a librarian and who, like her father, loves reading and poetry, she sees him, and she's like, oh my God, that is my love. This is my love. And she, who has been waiting her whole life to meet the love of her life, realizes that the love of her life is married to her favorite person in the world, who is her older sister. And it is such a complicated conflict for them. But she does end up choosing William. And they have a beautiful marriage that is wounded by this loss, right? Like this, as being part of what occasioned the rift, the marriage has this darkness to it, but it still has nothing to do with who they are to each other. It just has to do with how they got there and what they lost in order to be together. So it's a beautiful exploration of finding your mate, sometimes at a really, 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 really high cost. But the book at the end believes that we can find our person, and that when we do, we shall be happy with them. Those will be unbreakable bonds. In Hello Beautiful, and Napolitano explores friendships as an unbreakable bond. Our four sisters, the Padavano sisters, don't have a lot of other friends, because heaven knows if you have four sisters whom you adore and fight with and do all these things with, you might not need a lot of other friends. But William, who is our other protagonist, grew up with no friends really, because if your parents don't know how to love you and teach you how to do relationships, it's really hard for you to then figure out how to do relationships yourself. But he is a gifted basketball player. So he, even though he didn't have friends, he had teammates as he was growing up. And then he comes to play at Northwestern, and one of his teammates, his name is Kent. He's a black man who's going to be a doctor. And they both end up doing a job that nobody wants together, and they fall for each other the way that only friends can. They are there for each other, rain or shine. William suffers from depression, which stems from his parental upbringing without love. He is forever struggling to keep it together, and Kent is somebody who is just there for him the way that friends can be, which is not every day, which is not all the time, but when he's needed, he's there, and he provides a wonderful counterpoint. He's very charming, he's very driven. As their career evolves, they both end up working for the Bulls, looking after the players, Kent as a doctor and William as a physical therapist. From the moment they meet, they're there for each other, and they don't wound each other in any ways that separates them. So it's, as this book looks at the kind of bonds that we need in order to survive as human beings and make it in this world, it seems to make an argument that friendship is the less complicated, or it can be at its best, the less complicated bond. And even though it doesn't carry as much weight of the day-to-day as the family and your lovers and your parents do, it can really help you make it through life, especially these long and sustained friendships. Hello Beautiful argues that some unbreakable bonds go beyond death. And in the case of Charlie, who is the patriarch of the 4 Padavano sisters, he passes at some point throughout the book, fairly early. And yet this man who in life had been a very loving yet ineffectual presence in their lives, with his citing poetry and his overdrinking and his inability to provide financially the way that his wife wanted them to for everybody, becomes a presence for them. They remember the last conversations that they had with him. Julia, the last time she saw him, he said, "You're my rocket." And she takes this as she's dealing with all the heartbreak that comes later, and she thinks, what kind of rocket am I? A professional rocket? So like she thinks about, and she does, she goes off to New York and she has an amazing career. But then she realizes as the book goes that maybe that wasn't the kind of rocket that she was. Maybe she was supposed to be a rocket that was going to carry her whole family, and she's now divided from them. So it's an interesting exploration for her. For Sylvie, she's also thinking about, as she reads poetry herself and as she reads books, she's really thinking about her father and everything he taught them about words and stories. And as she even begins writing their own history, he becomes this presence that just will not go away, even though he's theoretically gone. So the book is arguing that our parents can have a really, really positive presence in us even when they're gone, as we analyze the way they saw us and as we understand the words of wisdom that they shared with us, which evolve. As we evolve, our parents are gone, they can't evolve anymore. They evolved as much as they were going to evolve, and then they died. But our characters keep on evolving, and the advice and the thoughts that their parents shared with them help them through these evolutions even when their parents are gone. So thank you for listening to this exploration of unbreakable bonds in Napolitano's beautiful and moving and sad and yet happy Hello Beautiful. And let me know, What did you think? Have you read it? Have you not? Did it make you want to read it? Did it make you want to reread it? Do you agree with this analysis? Do you not? And please like, share, subscribe, and keep reading and having unbreakable bonds of your own.